Hello, dear students. How are you all doing? Welcome to a new science lecture video, and we are still talking about reproduction in plants. I'll go for a quick overview about the sexual reproduction in flowering plants. You know that flowering plants grow flowers, and flowers are the reproductive organs of these plants. This means that in the flowers, you'll see the seeds growing and forming, okay? These seeds are the baby plants that will turn into a new plant, and this way reproduction happens. The reproduction in flowering plants is considered as sexual since both male parts and female parts are engaged. A flower shows different parts, starting from the corolla. The corolla is the group of petals that attract pollinators by the bright colors and the beautiful smells. Pollinators play an important role in the sexual reproduction process of flowering plants. We have the calyx. The calyx is the group of sepals that protects the bud, and then we'll move to the inside of the flower with the filament and anther that build the male part, which is the stamen. So the stamen is the male part that consists of the anther and the filament. The job of the anther is to make pollen grains. This flower also shows for sure the female part, which is the carpel or the pistil. This pistil is made of the stigma, the style, and the ovary. In order for the reproduction to happen, the pollen grain made by the anther must be transferred to the stigma, okay? This happens with the help of pollinators. Pollinators such as wind, water, bees, butterflies, birds, sometimes people. The pollinator's job is to make or let pollination happens. Pollination is when pollen grains are transferred from the anther to the stigma. Pollination is the first step of sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Look at this figure. This figure shows or represents the pollination process when the pollen moves from the anther of the stamen to the stigma of the pistil. Once the pollen grain is on the stigma, it will make two things. The pollen grain presents a pollen tube and releases sperms. The sperms will fertilize the ovules, and this way you'll have seeds. The second step is fertilization. So the first one is pollination. The second one is fertilization. What's fertilization? It's the union of the sperm with an ovule. Here is a complete or a perfect flower. The pollen is taken. Look at the bee. The bee is holding a pollen grain. The pollen grain is taken from the anther to the stigma. Then fertilization happens. So first step is pollination. Second step is fertilization. After fertilization, the seeds are ready in the flower. These seeds, when planted in the soil and in the right conditions, they will grow into a new plant. And this is the purpose of reproduction. What's reproduction? Reproduction is the process of creating a new thing, a new living thing, such as babies, and seeds are the baby plants. They are the babies of plants. When you put these babies, these seeds in the soil, you'll have a new plant. Which type of reproduction is this? This is sexual reproduction, because for the reproduction to happen, you will need both the male part and the female part. And actually, this seed has two parents. It has a mom and it has a dad. There is a sexual reproduction in plants. There is also an asexual reproduction in plants. So, yes, plants reproduce asexually. Let's take the example of the strawberry plant. Okay, Miss Fatten has a garden. She planted a strawberry plant in the garden, and she noticed after a certain time that there are new plants growing from specific places in the plant. Okay, look at this line. Okay, on each node, so we will call these nodes. Miss Fatten noticed that there is a new plant on node 1, and there is a new plant also on node 2. There is a third plant on node 3. How did this happen? How do we have 3 new plants without pollination, without the use of flowers, without fertilization? How did this happen? This happened asexually. So there are 2 types of reproduction in plants. Reproduction is creating new plants, new babies. This can happen by sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction is when an ovule and a sperm are engaged. Sexual reproduction needs or requires the fertilization of an ovule by a sperm. So there is a mom, there is a dad. Asexual reproduction? No. There is only one parent for the baby. The baby came from one place. No pollination, no fertilization, and it's just one parent that is involved in this kind of reproduction. Okay, today we'll be talking about asexual propagation. Asexual propagation is a type of asexual reproduction, and this happens when a new plant grows from a part of the plant. Okay, maybe a leaf, maybe a stem, maybe a flower. Okay, so you'll be using, no, not a flower, you'll be using one part of the plant to grow another new plant. There are also different types of asexual propagation, and we will start with the strawberry plant example. Okay? New plants are growing from special places in the plant. A strawberry plant reproduces asexually by making runners. What's a runner? The runner is a stem. This stem grows above the ground. So I'll add the info right here. So what's the runner? The runner is a stem. This stem grows above the ground. How does it grow? It grows horizontally above the ground. On each node, at each node of the runner, a new plant grows. So first type of asexual propagations is growing from runners. An example, the strawberry plant. Another example, it's the case of the iris flower. Look at this beautiful flower. This flower has a good part in it. When you place this part in the soil, you'll have a new iris flower, a new iris plant. What is this part? It's the rhizome. What's the rhizome? The rhizome is also, I'll be also adding the info right here. okay? And here are the rhizomes. This is a rhizome. What's a rhizome? A rhizome is also a stem. This stem grows under the ground, so it is an underground stem. It grows near the surface of the soil, near the surface. Okay, and when you place this stem in the soil, you will get a new iris plant. So the second type of asexual propagations is growing from rhizomes. Third, cuttings. Do you know that when you place a pineapple leaf in water or in soil, you will have a new pineapple plant? What do we call this kind? It's just a piece, it's just a cutting, a small part of the plant. I'm telling you that when you take a leaf of the pineapple plant, that's what we call growing from cuttings. So some plants like the mint plant, the geranium plant, the pineapple tree, the pineapple plant, sorry, the carrot plant, these plants can grow from a cut off, a piece of a stem with few leaves or from a leaf. When you put this part in water or in soil, you will have a new plant. So growing from cuttings, what's the cutting? The cutting is a piece of the stem with some leaves. What are examples of plants that grow from cuttings? Pineapple plant, mint plant, geranium plant, and so on. The last type of asexual propagations is the case of tubers. I'm not sure if you can still remember what's a tuber. The tuber is a stem. So the potato is a tuber. So the tuber is a stem. It is an underground stem that stores food. And when you take the sprouting eye, look at the eyes. If you look carefully at a potato in your house, you'll see the eyes. When you place these sprouting eyes, this is a sprouting eye. When you place these sprouting eyes in water or in the soil, you will have a new plant. Okay, so look at this. Look at this. They took the sprouting eye of a potato, they placed it in the soil, and as you can see, a new plant is growing out of the tuber. So there are 4 different types of asexual propagations. What are the 2 types? This is a review. What are the 2 types of plant reproduction? There are 2 types, sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. The sexual reproduction involves the engagement of a sperm and an ovule, of a male part and a female part. The asexual reproduction, no, it does not involve the engagement of male and female. It's just one parent involved. What are some examples of plants that can reproduce asexually? The strawberry plant reproduces by growing new plants from runners. The iris plant reproduces by growing new plants from rhizomes. The geranium plants, the carrot plant, the pineapple plant, they reproduce by growing new plants from a stem cutting. This is the geranium plant, by the way, and it grows from a cutting. And at last, we have the potato plants. Since the potato is a tuber, so the potato plant grows new plants from tubers, okay? If you still have any questions about this lesson or there is something that needs to be clarified, I'm always available. Bye-bye.